free 2-week trial. So don't delay. Become an insider today. DeepMind, a British company owned by Google, may be on the verge of achieving human-level artificial intelligence. A research scientist at DeepMind, a machine learning professor at Oxford University, has said the game is over in regards to solving the hardest challenges in the race to achieve artificial intelligence. AGI refers to a machine or program that has the ability to understand or learn any intellectual task that a human can do without training. Incredible. In a moment, though, how safe is artificial intelligence? Dr. Hugo Daguerre is back with us on Coast to Coast. We'll talk about AI next on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you. Dr. Hugo Daguerre is back with us. Was an associate professor of computer science and theoretical physics at Utah State University. His research specialty was building artificial brains. He evolved 10,000 of the neural network circuits and evolvable hardware at electronic speeds, downloaded them into a PC, and then connected them up to form artificial brains to control robots. He remains deeply worried that the longer-term consequences of his and other brain-building work may lead to
cállate, mierda, cállate. Yeah, shut up.
Humans or machines be the most intelligent species.
Most annoying cat ever.
It's called the Intellect War, and we'll have to talk about that in a moment as well. Hugo, welcome back. It's always good to have you on the show.
Hi, George. I think the first time we talked was can you hear me okay?
Yeah. You're down under in Australia, aren't you?
Yeah, currently, right. I mean, I've lived in 7 countries, including America.
Come on back. We miss you.
Yeah, give me a visa.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me about the title of your book, The Intellect War. What does that mean?
The word intellect, it's just short for artificial intellect. And in other words, a godlike, massively intelligent machine. So with mental capacity, literally trillions of times above the human level. And these huge numbers come from the physics of computation. Like if I take like an orange in my hand, and if you ask yourself what in that orange, and the answer is about a trillion. And state of art technology now can more or less store 1 bit of information on 1 atom. So that's a trillion atom in that orange. So if that orange were nanotext, you could have a computing capacity in that orange that would be like a million trillion times more than the estimated computing capacity of the human brain. So the technologies of the future, the near future, are just gargantuanly superior to what the human brain can do. So, our days as human beings, the dominant species, are limited. They're counting down. So I see this book, The Intellect War, is a war over the issue of who or what should be the dominant species. Should it remain human beings, or should we human beings allow our machines to become the dominant species, meaning the most intelligent species?
Almost everybody right now, Hugo, has smartphones, and they truly are remarkable. I mean, they're little handheld computers that you can do everything with it. You can, search apps, email, send text messages, send pictures through the air. It's truly remarkable. But when technology goes even beyond this, is that what bothers you? Is that what concerns you?
Yes. When you start doing the math and the physics, what we have today is just nothing in comparison to what's coming. What we have today multiplied by trillions and trillions, and that's what's coming. So the potential of these machines is so vastly superior to what we are as humans that it's only a question of time before humanity is forced to choose. Do we, as human beings, do we remain the number 1 species, or do we give it up and become the number 2 species? It's going to happen this century. This issue is just a very
cállate.
artificial intelligence will force the issue.
Milana, mi gato, ya cállate.
Let's get involved. Are we as a species, going to allow ourselves to be replaced or not?
What's the downside to this, Hugo? What do you think could happen if artificial intelligence gets to that point that you just described? What would be the negative aspect of it?
Well, the worst case scenario is that these machines, that are called algorithms, once they come into being, they could then modify themselves, improve on themselves, and you could have a whole sequence of these improvements until they came veritably godlike and so superior to us as human beings that they may consider us the way we consider mosquitoes or ants, that they may consider we so superior to them, they may just get rid of us.
Everyone says their smartphone has a pro camera, but isn't it time to go beyond pro? Introducing the all-new image sensor with epic resolution. ISOCELL H.
Fuck you, commercial.
They may just get rid of it. Maybe not even deliberately. I mean, do it as a kind of side effect. For example, when they decide, all this oxygen, it's rusting our circuitry, so let's get rid of the oxygen. And they do, and we soon get wiped out, and they don't understand. So to them, we are nothing. We're just so insignificant and inferior to them that they just don't give a damn. The worst scenario.
Will a computer through artificial intelligence ever show true human emotion?
Well, ultimately, it's all circuitry. I mean, we should think about it. All our behaviors, our memories, our feelings, our logic, it's all neural circuitry. So the early artificial brain, I think it's neural circuitry that allows emotion. The emotion, conscious, smart, memorize. We could give them whatever we want, actually.
Couldn't we just pull the plug on them, Hugo, if it got that bad?
If the standalone, yes. But once it's all over the network, then you get a pull the plug on the whole internet. I mean, it gets complicated.
It does. What do you think of Elon Musk's neural network he's working on?
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, that will allow brain-to-brain communication. You can have like connected between one human brain via wire, wire, and for another human brain, you have like two brains connected. Connect two. You can connect many. Have a kind of super brain. So, the potential is there to put these brains to machines. I mean, you could have human brains talking the common to machines and vice versa. You have brain to brain, brain to machine, machine to brain. Lots of potential.
That's kind of dangerous if they take over. Could they tap into the Neuralink network and screw around with our brains?
Yes.
Great.
I mean, that's why I see humanity living in the next decade or two. I call it the species dominant debate. The critical question here is, what you express it in 4 words, should humanity build
I aim to devastate.
And I see that question absolutely dominating our global politics this century. It's taken more and more seriously, and that will happen as people notice with their own eyes.
Can we actually say no at this point to that question?
Well, it depends on the category of people I ask. Like a couple of years ago, I was at a bunch of Christian evangelicals, and I asked them to take a vote on this. Should humanity build these godlike machines? And like almost to oppose them, there's a huge audience of about 3,000 people, and only a handful put up their hands saying they wanted to build these artifacts, and all the rest were absolutely, violently against. But then, in a different audience, for example, the last time I was in China, I was a professor in China for a while, and I asked a bunch of master's students in computer science whether they want to build these godlike machines, these artifacts or not, and 70% wanted. So it depends on the audience.
The subtitle of your book, The Art of War, is Cosmists versus Tyranns. What are they?
Okay, cosmos is based on the word cosmos. In other words,
Okay.
they are people who are in favour of building these artefacts. For them, it's almost like a religion. So I call them cosmists, as an ism. For them, it would be almost like a religion, building godlike machines that would be immortal. With trillions and trillions of tons of artifacts to use. They could go out into the universe, discover other hyper-intelligent creatures, and perhaps even manipulate universes and so forth. That's one group. And the other group, the Terrans, that's T-E-R-R-A, Terra, like Terra the Earth. And their perspective is the Earth, they're human-centered, and their greatest fear is that if these cosmists, the people in
I think Junker Queen.
building these machines, if they actually succeed and these artifacts come into being, then the big fear is that they decide to wipe out humanity. So the big fear of the Terrans is the extinction of human beings as a species. So they will not tolerate that these artifacts do come into being. So they will then be the bitter political enemies of the cosmos. So you have a kind of war scenario growing in the coming decades between the cosmists and the Terrans, between those who want to build artifacts and those who are opposed to building artifacts.
Where do you fit?
I'm sort of torn. Perhaps I should mention there's a third option, which is relevant, interesting. They're the so-called cyborgs. That's short for cybernetic organisms. In other words, part machine, part human.
That's right.
And that they would be people who, for example, add components to their own brain and modify themselves. So, and their philosophy is that these people, these cyborgs, the people in favour of building cyborgs, they want to become gods themselves.
Hold on, Hugo. Let's pick that up when we come right back. We're going to take a short break, and we'll talk about that. Cyborgs want to become their own governments. And welcome back to Coast, Drew.
Escape to Discovery Cove. Let the rest of the world disappear as you dip below the surface and lose yourself in Orlando's all-inclusive paradise. Capacity is always limited, so reserve your spot today.
What if a hip-hop legend helped turn your house from bad to bougie? Welcome to Hip-Hop.
I've come too far to stop you.
And welcome back to Coast, George Norrie with Dr. Hugo de Garis, as we are talking about artificial intelligence. His latest book is called The Artifact War. The cyborgs that you've been talking about, Hugo, if people can get these Neuralinks put in their brains that Musk is working on, will that make them a cyborg?
Oh, yes, but it's part human, part machine.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense, we're all cyborgs now without cell phones and so forth. I mean, we've been cyborgs for centuries, like Peg-Leg Pete, Captain Cook, and, he's hooked and that kind of thing. But later this century, we will be able to surpass ourselves. I mean, these cyborgists, who want to become cyborgs, their dream is to convert themselves from to becoming artists. So their big dream is to become artists gods themselves, and in a sense, go around to avoid the architect war. But they argue that if nearly all the so-called Terrans convert themselves to become cyborgs, then there are no Terrans left to go to war again. So the cyborgs want to avoid the war, but their big dream is to become artifact gods themselves, become immortal, go out into the universe and find other species and whatnot. That is
This might be a stretch, but a person who has a pacemaker planted in their chest, would they be a cyborg as well?
Yeah, of course. It's by definition. It's just adding components to your own body. That's the very definition of a cyborg.
So we've got them all over the place.
Unite as one.
Yeah. Well, cell phone in my pocket. Very much part of me. Google things a dozen times a day. I'm constantly influenced you probably had the experience yourself at some stage. For some reason, your internet is down. You remember how
It's frustrating.
you feel?
Yeah.
Oh, you feel starved, cut off from the world.
Have you ever forgotten your smartphone at home, left, and then realized, oh my gosh, I don't have a movie, and went back home to get it?
I've done that. We've all done that.
I think a lot of people have. Now,
There are like three major groups that in time that things become political. The IQ gap, and the lower level intelligence. That gap is closing. It's actually smarter every year. Then the so-called species dominance debate will heat up. People will become more and more passionate about it. Because what's at stake here is the survival not of countries. If you go back previous centuries, what were wars mostly about? They were largely rivalries between nation states, like Russia versus the Nazis, Japan versus China, Britain versus the Nazis, and so on. Between nation states. But this is a major war, this architect war that occurs later this century. It wouldn't be between nation states. It'd be at a global level. It'd be a kind of global civil war. And what's at stake is not the survival of a country, but far worse, the survival of a species. In other words, us as human beings. So as that IQ gap closes, the level of passion in the debate, species dominance debate, should humanity build ultimately that question rage, and people start to try, especially the IQ gap closes, and you get political parties formed, and then worse you get arson and assassination, CEO blamed these companies, the assassinated, blamed sanctions going to the ground, prominent politicians on one side or the other will be murdered, and so on, and until eventually, the 21st century weapons, I'm predicting a very gloomy scenario, of course. I call the concept giga death. So if you ask the question, how did it start in the 20th century for political reasons like wars, genocide, ethnic cleansing, Holocaust, whatever? The answer is roughly about 300 million people. A lot of people, but that's a third of a billion, roughly. A major war later this century over this issue of species dominance. And you're talking 21st century weaponry, so far more lethal. Then you only have to multiply by a factor of 3, and then you go to the billion mark, and bigger, so giga death. So it's an extremely pessimistic scenario. But in my view, the most probable. There are other scenarios, like, for example, these athletes may decide, these human beings, there's nothing, this puny little earth, there's a whole universe out there, so let's just leave, and they leave. And so humanity survives. That's one more positive scenario. But in my view, the most likely, the most probable scenario in fact the worst one, and that is it takes time for humanity to achieve AGI, that's artificial general intelligence, to make machines smart at doing all things, not just very narrow specialties like search, like what the internet does, what Google does, or self-driving cars, or guiding you with maps. How to get from A to B in your car. They're all very narrow applications of AI. But AGI, with the emphasis on G, the general, artificial general intelligence, Achieving that probably will require understanding how the brain works. And that's a huge problem. It will take decades. So probably the time that humanity will get used to the idea that this growing threat is very real. So there'll be lots of time for debate and political maneuvering and so forth.
Back in action.
The species dominance debate will just heat up and up and up until eventually explode. And with 21st century weaponry, we have a major war in the Arctic war. Talking gigatons. You and I are similar age, I guess. We're in our 70s, so we will not see this war, thank God. But I do hear from my grandchildren.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's something to worry about. Of these three groups, the Cosmists, the Terrans, and the Cyborgs, which of the three do you think are right, or are they all wrong?
Come on back, Gracie.
Well, that's a good question. Right. So, each of those three groups has their own argument in favour. Like, Cosmists want to build God. They want to get out into the cosmos. That's why they're called cosmists. They see this as inevitable. There are tremendous, what's the word, momentum arguments. Like the economic momentum. The brain-building companies become the largest on the planet in history. They're worth trillions of dollars each. Producing artificial brains that control home robots that everyone will want because they're extremely useful. They can do everything. You clean the house, entertain you, educate you, sex you, talk with you. So people pay a fortune for these things. So a huge industry. So the economic momentum will be enormous. How do you stop it? And even bigger, stronger momentum argument is the military momentum. The next few decades we'll see China. So I lived 5 years in the US and I lived 12 years in China. So I'm quite convinced that just in the next few decades China will overtake the US as the dominant power in the world. They're 4 times bigger than the US. They're smarter than the Europeans and Americans. The average IQ is 105. Whereas ours is 100. They're very hard-working, it's a higher economic growth rate, so China will take over the US as dominant power, but China, speaking bluntly here, because I think there, I know China is a political shithole.
You can't say that, you go on here.
I can't say that either? All right. You know what I mean. Okay. So,
Just fucking heard.
They will take up.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Millions political prisoners, kill people,
They get body parts.
take the body parts and sell them back on the black market. So that's just horrific. So America on the whole despises the Chinese. So you've got this growing rivalry over the next few decades. And so the minister of defense of one of these two countries cannot afford of the other
Super lagging.
get ahead of his country by having more increasing intelligence, soldier robots, artificial intelligence-based military systems. So you've got military momentum that cannot be stopped. So the cosmists, people in favour of building the startups, they can't stop it. And then the striving argument, which is in human nature to strive, to be curious. So the challenge is to
Good message.
encourage humanity to do it. The Mount Everest, climbing was there, kind of thing. Here I say, well, humans to build these things. It's terrifying that humanity may get wiped out as well. So in Australia,
they're justified.
Thank you. Your orientation to survive, you literally go to war to ensure that that's successful. There is this threat that you often go to war to prevent that threat. So the terrorists...
Oh, that's right. That's the one they kill.
The convicts, so they'll go on a purge and kill, I don't know, millions of them, arguing that that's the best urge, so that the of humanity can survive. So that's their kind of argument. And then the third group, the cyborg
Oh, come on. I was holding my thing. I'm laggy. Otherwise, the should have worked.
But then the Terrans say, oh no, wait a minute. If you take just a grain of sand, just a single grain of sand, and you nanosequence,
We gotta take the point. We gotta get on point. They have it.
grain of sand is manipulating one piece of information, flipping back and forth at incredible speed.
Lynn Maxwell just got convicted of 5 of 6 of the serious house cancer.
She said, I'm involved in this relationship. It's really complicated, and I know it's not.
What a waste with that. But I didn't know if you guys were coming or not.
Can't film me in the bathroom, man. Yes.
Grain of sand manipulating one piece of information, flipping back and forth at incredible speed. Computing capacity in that little grain of sand.
Oh, that's bad. I pressed triangle, but it wouldn't let me go back in. I think I'm just, I don't know. It just be glitchy.
More than what the brain can do. So imagine some mother has her first child and decides to cyborg that child.
But that was a good rest. I don't know why it wouldn't let me in.
It's added to the brain. And then suddenly
Yeah, I don't know. That was lame how I did that.
And it doesn't take much to make you a cyborg, does it? Just even a little, like we talked about a pacemaker, that alone will do it to you.
yeah, sure. People are just adding like a grain of sand to their own brain within their arteries. Well, they would then be these people who've added the grain. They would be instantly from ordinary human beings. So I can imagine the terrorists becoming arrogant
With everybody.
with everyone. So I think there are certain things out there that they will become arrogant. The terrorists,
No way I'm winning this.
Nothing gets past me.
waiting before they strike, and afterwards just get smarter and smarter. The cyborgs get smarter and smarter, and until they're just too smart for the terrorists to conquer. So the terrorists have strategists, the military guys, they know they cannot wait too long. Otherwise, they
Well, it seems to me that this cannot be stopped. Do you think this global artificial intelligence can be slowed down or stopped, or is it just not going to happen like that?
I'm very optimistic that it can be stopped for the reasons I've given you before, the two strong momentum arguments. Also, the cosmics, they don't want to stop the don't know. It's very hard. It's a whole
I'm ready to initiate self-destruct sequence. Group up.
So much at stake that
Group up with me.
just won't take the risk. So they will prefer to get rid of the Great Purge. I don't see a way out of it.
Ultimate ready.
Yeah, there are some scenarios. The most plausible ones, probable ones.
Nerf this. Freeze. Don't move.
That was pretty chill.
Well, what if it happens faster than you thought?
Well, that's always a possibility. In fact,
All night for this.
Yeah, that's right.
Click further. No. Click further.
Good to see you. I think we're looking at major progress until there's a real wedding between neuroscience and neuroengineering. So the neuroscience guys are basically increasingly coming out with what they call AI. That's not information technology, that's intelligence.
Weapons optimized.
So why is one person smarter than another person? Or why is he smarter than sheep? Or why is sheep smarter than a mouse?
Group up here.
I might be wrong.
Damn, bro, they gangbanged me.
They made some major breakthrough that was a complete surprise. It's just always a possibility. But I just
They're counting on me.
it'll be decades, multiple decades, but I do think it will be essential. So our grandchildren will be caught up in it.
Do you think these people who are working on artificial intelligence today are well-intentioned people?
It's a short-term, I think artificial intelligence is a great boon to humanity. If you're just robot machines that can just work 24/7 and increasing productivity hugely. We live in an era of abundance. The poor people in Africa will be rich. Everyone will be rich. Coming out
We shall see what happens. It's for the first time caller Bruce in Ontario, Canada. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thank you so much, Bert.
Now we're talking.
I just wanted to have
I'm on fire. What else is new?
But I think in general, mankind is that welcoming it with open arms. So there's potentially, a dangerous outcome.
Surrender, my will.
generation of computers. We improved the computers. So these answers, well, the dumber ones, once they reach human level intelligence, they can then, they'll have the intelligence to improve on themselves and make increasingly autonomous systems. And with their superior intelligence, they can make even better autonomous systems, and so on and so on. They get this chain of developments into the future. And who knows? I mean, you might argue the following way. Is it possible for human beings, human engineers, to tweak these machines in such a way that no matter how they modify themselves in the future, they would always remain human friendly? No question. I'm extremely cynical of that. I think no, that's not possible. These future machines, they will just do whatever they want. They're completely autonomous, and their goals might be antithetical to human survival. So there's this huge risk, and frankly, I just don't see the terrorist politicians taking that risk. I think they will just utterly reject it, and they will go to war to stop that risk being taken. That's my view. So I agree with the call of Bruce, right? I think there is a very real threat as these machines become, one, increasingly intelligent, and two, increasingly autonomous.
Let's go to Charlie in Chester, New Jersey. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you, George. Hugo, the greatest intellect forever
Pushing the
is the
barricade.
great
Strike
God.
together.
The second greatest intellect forever is the God. This, I believe, always has
Rocket
been,
barrage
is
incoming.
now,
Just
and always will be
flames
a
from above.
fundamental truth of religion.
Explain a little bit more, Charlie.
What's your point? Hello?
Hung up. You made a statement, and that was it. But, well, let me ask you this, Hugo, in terms of this. Where does this divine intelligence fit in? Let's assume we all believe in God. I'm going to assume we all believe in higher intelligence. Where do they fit in with this artificial